How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pate. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Electricast.
At the end of the movie School Days, which is a movie before Do the Right Thing, the last thing you hear him say is wake up. But then the first line of dialogue is Samuel L. Jackson saying wake up. And that is
the right thing.
Bonkers. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That is like...
That's so smart.
Cool. Oh.
Welcome to today's episode of Generation Film, where 2 guys from the 20th century select a classic movie to show a panel of young film lovers to see if it still plays with today's generation. I'm Mark Netter. I'm a filmmaker. I'm an instructor at Los Angeles Film School and CEO and co-founder of Electricast Media.
And I'm David Tausik. I'm a film director, writer, and I'm on this podcast.
I'm Guy Lewis, soon to graduate from the Los Angeles Film School, and I love movies.
I'm Grace. I'm also a student at the Los Angeles Film School and an aspiring screenwriter, and I love movies.
And I'm Jake Flowers. I am also a student at the Los Angeles Film School studying business, and I am a freelance stylist and future costume designer.
This past week, the 5 of us watched Spike Lee's 1989 breakthrough hit, Do the Right Thing. Just like last episode's auteur, Charlie Chapman, Lee wrote, directed, and starred in his movie. It was his 3rd feature film and notable for a number of things, sort of a revelatory African-American sensibility, the number of crew members of color it employed and actually got into Filmmakers Union, the number of great actors who went on to become well-known stars, and the unique structure of the movie. It also engendered major controversy when released, and now, if I can speak for myself at least, 34 years later, I think it feels as relevant as ever.
Yes.
David, can you just give us a sense what this movie is about?
Yeah, it takes place in Bedford-Stuyvesant, known by New Yorkers as Bed-Stuy, which in 1989, when the film was made, was an almost completely Black and Puerto Rican neighborhood. It's the hottest day of the year. Besides Spike Lee and his girlfriend, who was played by Rosie Perez in her first ever film appearance, there's this incredible cast of characters who are talking shit about each other all the time, but also seem to have a certain tolerance for each other, even if there's a lot of tension in that tolerance. Mookie, who's played by Spike Lee, works at a pizzeria, as Sal, the owner, calls it. It's been around for 25 years. He's the pizza delivery guy. The story centers around that pizzeria. At a certain point, there's a character who is unhappy about the fact that this Italian pizzeria has pictures only of Italian American celebrities, doesn't have pictures of brothers on it. And as the day gets hotter and as people start to butt heads with each other more, the day just escalates to the point where finally there's a violent episode in the pizzeria, which turns into a riot and ends up with the pizzeria being burnt down. There's a final scene between Mookie and Sal. It's very touching. And then there's also a couple of quotes at the end by Malcolm X and Martin Luther King that end the film. Yeah. There you have it.
Good job over here. Now, I believe, Guy, you had seen this before.
Yes.
David and I have both seen it before, but was this the first? Grace, had you seen it before?
Yeah, this is my 3rd time seeing it.
Jake, what about you? Is this your first?
This was my very first time seeing it.
All right, I want to start with you. Jake, when you were watching this, what were you thinking? And now what are you thinking a day or two later?
I want to say this the right way because I think it's important. I was uncomfortable while I was watching it. And because of the way that they depicted the heat and the way that it was connected to the tension in the air, I felt like a buzzing discomfort throughout the entire thing. But also this thematically is part of our reality in 2022. at least I know I've been in many discussions and been witness to things. And obviously, as much as I am disconnected from this narrative because of my privilege, I still feel that it's looming always. It was sobering to watch it play out in a time and place that I was not alive in. And yeah, it was an amazing film. I really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the character development and that there was so many different characters and one could relate to any character in this film. But also just that discomfort really sat with me throughout, especially towards the end.
Well, let me ask you about the discomfort a little more, because I think that's really interesting. I mean, Spike is making a confrontational film. You know, it's a movie that is a wake-up call. His previous movie, School Days, literally ends with him running around the Morehouse campus yelling, wake up to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, he's very interested in waking up, I think, both Black America and white America to what's going on. Because you said such nice things about the movie kind of at the end of that, do you think the discomfort was actually a good thing? Was like the point?
Well, I think that the discomfort was intended for specific audiences, if you know what I'm getting at. And I think that it wasn't like a discomfort that I am
accustomed to.
It was a discomfort that I am accustomed to. Especially with the things that we, like I said, have been in more discussion, at least in my communities, in the more recent history. But it was also uncomfortable the way that people survive and their way of life and how separate it is from many people that I know and the life that I've experienced. It was not necessarily an awakening, because I think that if you don't know what's going on in the world, you just need to pay more attention. But it wasn't necessarily that I was waking up, but more that it was like sitting in it and watching it, and also the heat. But what I loved, despite that, was the sense of community that everybody shared in the film. And I think towards the end, after the climax, like reinstating that sense of community, despite like what David said, the shit talking that goes on and like the way that they connect with each other as a community. I think the discomfort was intended.
Definitely.
And I just want to mention the entire movie takes place on one city block.
In one day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And they actually turned this block in Bedford-Stuyvesant into their movie set. They got all the permits and they built the whole pizzeria on an empty lot there. And it was a functioning pizzeria. They were actually making pizzas in the oven. The actors were as they were doing it.
I love
Grace, your third time seeing the movie. When was the first time you saw it?
Probably like 5 years ago, I think. A while ago.
Why don't you give us a little comparison? What did you remember feeling the first time you saw it versus this time?
Oh, wait, before you ask, 5 years ago, that would be like 2017, right?
Yeah.
So that was right around the time of the George Floyd murder?
No, George Floyd was like 2020, right?
Yeah.
Was it 2020?
Yeah.
When you watch this film, you think, wow, this is like the George Floyd story 30 years before. So these incidents between the police and people of color, more than white people, but also killing white people as well, killing all kinds of people when they shouldn't, when they're unarmed.
Using their power.
You're telling a story that isn't true and getting away with it.
Yeah.
This is something I've been hearing about since I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's nothing new.
Much older than even 89.
Oh, yeah. Before any of us, before our parents were born.
Exactly. The first time I saw it, I didn't know what to expect. But this has been a topic that I've been always interested in. And I'm always telling people about police brutality, prison reform, all this stuff. So it was something that I really loved. I was excited when I saw it again. And then this third time, there were so many things that I caught that I didn't catch the first or second time. So I would tell everyone to watch it again.
Give us a taste. What's one of the things that you noticed this time that stuck out to you?
Well, when
remember?
Sal walks into the restaurant at the beginning of the day, he says, I'm going to kill somebody today because it's so hot and he's just so frustrated. And I was like, whoa, interesting. And then later when it's Bugging Out, that's his name, when he's talking about getting pictures of Black people on the wall, Sal is just he doesn't even want to communicate about it. And it escalates so quickly and he just grabs his bat and it's like, dude, like, you don't have to do that. You could just talk about it or like put a picture of MLK up there, something like, just why are you having this reaction?
Yeah. And the person who takes the bat out of Sal's hand is his eldest son.
His racist ass son.
Yes. His racist son is one of the meanest characters in the whole movie, but he's the one who pulls the bat out.
Yeah. Cause he knows like, we don't need someone dying in here today.
Guy, I'd love to get your reaction. When was the first time you saw Do the Right Thing?
I was like little.
Were you like too young to see the movie or not really?
I've always been really young to see stuff. Like I think I saw Aliens when I was 8. Yeah, my mom, she was like, watch the movie that Black people make, which is one of the reasons why I like movies. And so she let me see stuff within reason. But like I was 13 maybe.
That's all.
Yeah. Public Enemy was big. That is a whole change in protest music of the era. Hip hop back in that day was more protest oriented, not so much bling and cars, but it was like you kind of learned some stuff. I think I heard Fight the Power like a bunch of times before I saw the movie. So then I saw the movie, and I'm from a small town in Conroe, Texas. They didn't show the movie in the theater. So I saw it on VHS along with all the kids my age at that time. Well, not with them. And like we kind of talked about it, but Spike Lee was confusing. It took, I don't know, like a long time for me to understand what Do the Right Thing was about. When the mayor tells Spike Lee, do the right thing, he did a bunch of foreshadowing
Right.
in this movie. It's one of the reasons why it's so brilliant.
Let me just point out for our listeners, the mayor is not actually a real mayor. He's the elderly gentleman who's very poor and lives on the street, but kind of because of his age and his kind of eminence, played by Ossie Davis, the great actor, who actually, I believe, spoke at Malcolm X's funeral.
Wow.
I think it's more ironic than that because he's a drunk.
Yeah.
So they call him the mayor. He's very gallant and he's charming, but at the same time, nobody gives him any respect, even though they call him the mayor.
Yeah, he was real regal too, like very chivalrous and.
That's right. Tips his hat. Got old-fashioned manners.
And he's always trying to keep the peace.
Right. There's kind of a matriarch in the neighborhood called Sister Mother.
Mother Sister.
And
Mother Sister.
Mother Sister. Mother Sister. Okay.
Who incidentally is played by Ossie Davis's real wife.
Wow.
It's Ruby Dee, another incredible actress who, like him, started out in like the 60s or maybe late 50s.
So she has a kind of quiet dignity too, and she gets a lot of respect in her neighborhood. But on the other hand, she's very critical, especially of DeMayer, this drunk guy. And he spends the whole film trying to win her over. And she's very resistant. But eventually she does relent and see the good in him.
Sweet. So, Guy, getting back to what you were saying, I want to ask you a question. You mentioned, and I don't think you're the only person who's had sometimes a problem figuring out what Spike is saying. And I think a lot of that's because Spike is, I believe, a real artist and not like a hack filmmaker.
Yeah.
So he's very individualistic in what he does.
So stylish.
Yeah, but you have to give credit to his cast and his crew, right? So you see Giancarlo Esposito, who's like everywhere. He's like big nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like from Breaking Bad. He's everywhere. He finds these people who have a lasting effect on American cinema. He's the same award-winning costume designer from Black Panther.
Academy Award-winning costume designer.
Academy Award-winning. Big deal. Also, the cinematographer,
Ernest Dickerson.
Yeah, he did one of my favorite movies of all time, Juice. They got inspiration from this movie called The Third Man. Yeah,
Third Man, one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
might be one of our future films to look at.
Yeah, the camera angles that they chose in this movie were just like sickening.
So good.
And
that scene with Radio Raheem with the love and the hate, that blown me away.
Right. That's also a reference to a film called Night of the Hunter.
Right.
There's a guy who has love and hate tattooed on his fingers that way.
Right. On the one hand says love, one says hate. Radio Raheem has them as gold bling.
Gold bling.
Typical 80s gear around that time.
You mentioned the cinematography. The film's very, very orange.
Yeah, so they did that to give the audience the feeling of the heat. The movie was originally titled Heat Wave. The cinematographer and Spike Lee, they chose earth tones, red, orange, auburn.
They also repainted some things. Wynn Thomas, the production designer, who's also gone on to be incredibly successful, had certain things painted reds and oranges. I think there's actually, I know this is going to get a little obscure, but a Jean-Luc Godard influence on the colors in the movie. And I know Spike was a huge cinephile and Ernest as well. And I'm sure they saw like Weekend and other Godard movies. So bold, primary-ish colors is a part of that. And somehow it reacts a certain way on color film stock and makes things feel very vivid.
Yeah, that's what I got. Everything really looked really alive.
I want to come back to what the movie is saying, but let's hold off on that for a sec. I want to talk a little bit about favorite scenes. Guy, Jake, or Grace, did you have a favorite scene or alternately a favorite character?
Smiley.
Smiley.
He's selling the pictures of Malcolm X. I fell in love with him. He's so sweet. And I love that he finds his voice in the end. And I think my favorite scene is after the riot and the fire, and he finally gets the picture of Malcolm up on the wall.
Malcolm and Martin, both in one picture.
And I really appreciate his addition to the cast, although in today's day and age, that casting may not have been the best choice.
Because of his stutter, or?
Because I don't think that actor is differently abled.
He's not. No, he's not.
It was a perfect opportunity for them to cast somebody who was, but I mean, it's different times now.
A little backstory on that actor, Roger Gouverneur Smith, who I think is brilliant. That character was not originally in the movie, and he just kept lobbying Spike to be in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you imagine the film without him? I mean, he really...
No.
Yeah.
And it tied everything together with the MLK quote at the end and the Malcolm X quote, because he was talking about them the whole time, drawing his doodles on their pictures.
And if I can provide a little context for the Malcolm X Martin Luther King thing, both of them were incredible civil rights leaders in the 1960s who were both assassinated in different ways, different things going on, and both a little bit, not completely solved assassinations for some people. Martin Luther King was considered to be kind of the more
nonviolent,
the more kind of acceptable, maybe to white America, than Malcolm X.
He was Christian. He was a preacher. It's a sellable,
more appealing.
Yeah, more appealing personality than a Black Muslim.
Right.
It's also spelled out at the end in the final credits. I mean, Martin Luther King's quote is a quote about peace and brotherly love and how we all have to learn to get along. And Malcolm X echoes the same sentiment. He says, but I consider self-defense to be justified. And if self-defense means carrying a gun and having to hurt somebody, then what choice do you have?
Exactly.
So that's what white America and the FBI was afraid of in the 1960s.
Yeah. The FBI was afraid of MLK too. They sent him a letter to kill himself, basically. And then they tried to defame him by leaking these tapes of him cheating on his wife. They were afraid of any little thing.
Yeah. This goes back to modern times from last week. The FBI also kicked Charlie Chapman out of the country.
Thank you, J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah.
Asshole.
Yeah, I don't like the FBI. You guys are great. You're awesome.
No, the FBI is not the same FBI.
Yeah.
Talking about something else.
Please don't.
It's not.
Now that they're listening,
I'm already on a watch list.
Okay, now.
They're definitely
stop.
Yeah.
I can't.
I like it when the FBI goes to retrieve government documents from places they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Oh well, especially documents that were already declassified by FBI
mentally.
I think that the characters bugging out, the person that went to Sal's pizzeria to invoke change is the Martin Luther King character, whereas Radio Raheem is representing the Malcolm X character.
Interesting.
So Radio Raheem, he was going around the neighborhood, around the block, telling everybody to fight the power the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But he's doing it with a huge boombox on his shoulder. And
right.
Part of the
he's only playing the one song,
which was the opening number for the whole movie.
Right.
What I think is so amazing when you're watching it is the sound work where you hear Fight the Power coming and you're like, okay, where's Radio Raheem?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then he comes into frame.
Is that pretty typical of New York at the time? David, you were in New York during that time, yeah?
Where I lived in my neighborhood, people suddenly started carrying these big boom boxes around in 1979. It's 10 years earlier. And a lot of people found it really annoying because before then, people had transistor radios and they'd hold it to their ear, or they had their Walkman and they had their little headphones, and that's fine. To carry a giant boombox and to turn it up so it's distorted. And it's kind of to everyone who's trying to just enjoy a day at the park or a quiet meal outside the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like Radio Raheem was doing it in a civil disobedience sort of way. He doesn't, sure, it's annoying, but this message is too important to care about you being uncomfortable for
it should
a
be
second.
Disruptive.
Exactly.
I feel it's just his thing. I mean, he doesn't do anything in the movie until the end, except walk around with his boombox playing it loud. That's all he
Buying
does.
batteries.
Yeah.
Right.
Buying batteries, right? Because it's
Right, but I-
just 20D batteries. That's how big it is.
Right. You should be free to play your music as loud as you want
Yeah.
to, as long as you're not disturbing anyone else. However, I don't think that Radio Raheem was doing that. I think he was trying to
Wake everybody up.
Yeah, and at the end of School Days, which is a movie before this one, the last thing you hear him say is "wake up," but then like the first line of dialogue is Samuel L. Jackson saying "wake up," and that
Oh.
is
The right thing. Yeah.
bonkers. You know what I'm saying? That is like,
That's so
pretty
smart.
cool.
oh, just
The film
brilliant.
also begins with Mookie waking up with his girlfriend, doesn't it?
His sister.
His sister. That's right. He
They are
that's
oddly
right.
intimate, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I heard sister,
Oh.
I was like, oh, okay.
I guess they only have one bedroom, and Mookie's not making a lot of money.
Yeah.
I just remember him sitting on the edge of the bed with the cool lighting. The lighting in that scene with the atmosphere and the sun.
Mhm.
Oh, it was a beautiful shot. There's a lot of beautiful
Yeah.
shots in
Yes,
that movie.
I agree.
Many. What do you think of the relationship between Mookie and his girlfriend, played by Rosie Perez?
Kind of
Ah.
pissed me off. I wish he was going all over the place seeing everybody except his son and his girlfriend. I was like,
he's a fucking deadbeat. Excuse my language.
I mean, I know he's trying to make money for them, but I was just like, you're too aloof. You need to.
Yeah, but he was also rocking Jordans, which were like $100 pair of shoes.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
And his gear was always great. I love the Jackie Robinson jersey he was rocking
Yeah,
at the
that was
beginning of the
super
movie.
cool.
That was like, I'm about to give me one. I'll wear Dodger blue for Jackie Robinson and Spike Lee.
But yeah, I
that
definitely
shows.
feel like he was
Uh,
just sort of a deadbeat dad.
I think it's a little harsh. I do honestly, I do think that's a little
Almost deadbeat.
because like they
No,
went.
he was trying, I think.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, he
I
was
was
trying. He was trying to hold down a job. He did go see her. You know,
He did, but she
Uh,
had to order a pizza to get to see him.
But don't you think that was cute? You didn't think that was cute? You didn't think that was
No.
adorable?
If that happened in real life, I'd be like, I'm never speaking to you ever again.
Fair, I guess that's, I guess
I
that's
think
fair.
Spike always goes to the nuance and the interesting area in between. So, for instance, with Rosie Perez, so she's always complaining because, he's not really paying much attention to her. And, they have this very young son, so he should be there more. I can understand she would feel that way. On the other hand, she gets up out of bed and says, why don't you go out and do something? You just, and then she goes back to bed. And meanwhile, her mom is watching the baby. So,
That's true.
she's, you never see her out of bed. She complains a lot about how he's not trying hard enough, but I'm not quite sure what she's doing.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to understand this is not, 21st century job opportunities for women in America.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, so her options, especially being in Bedford Stuyvesant around that time, I wouldn't know how far the subway is from that block, but I'm pretty sure
I
it's a
think
little
there were a
hike.
lot of women working in Bed-Stuy
That's
at
true.
the time.
I think
Oh,
there's also
yeah,
a
I do.
recession going on at that time, guys. There was like
Maybe it was her day off.
Yeah.
Could have been her day off.
It was
Yes.
one goddamn
Yeah.
day off.
Yeah.
We don't know. But I know that Mookie, he's got good and bad qualities, right? He's not
Yeah.
this great guy, but he's a nice guy. You like him. But he does mean things and he does selfish things. I like that he's not trying to play one character as a victim and the other character as the
Yeah.
oppressor.
Right.
He's saying like everybody is in some way a victim and everybody can be oppressive towards
Mhm.
somebody else.
when the movie came out and you heard him talking about it, it didn't always jibe perfectly with how I perceived the movie. And I think that the gift that he gives, and it's very New York, is he gives everybody space to voice their opinion in the movie. And nobody is a perfect character in the movie. Now, based on your point of view, if you grow up Black in Bed-Stuy, you may feel differently about Sal than, if you're a white guy who grew up in Bensonhurst, which at the time was a very Italian neighborhood.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of points of view in the movie. There's even one sequence where 4 different characters of different ethnicities spout racist epithets and
And it's such a
stereotypes.
good scene. It's just so well done.
And they
And
just
they
do
spout
one,
them at the
and then
camera.
other, and the other. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
they're not even talking to anybody in particular.
they're-
They're just spouting out their racist feelings, just venting them.
The movie itself is a bunch of discussions that are
Mhm.
going on about race and what does it mean to do the right thing. The big moment at the climax is when Mookie takes a certain action,
Yeah.
which has been very controversial over the years. At the time was very controversial. maybe, in fact, we've talked a little bit about some of the movie making facts. Jake, can you talk a little bit about the reception of the movie?
A lot of the critical reviews were like, he was inciting violence and he wants people to take unnecessary action towards the police. And this storyline was a fallacy. And then there were the people experiencing it like, this is my everyday life. This is what's really going on out here. And if you don't like it, if it makes you uncomfortable, piss off, you know? And I appreciated that through reading the reviews, I could kind of see what the headspace was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it also ticked me off that someone could watch this and think, oh, they're just inciting violence. It just blew my mind.
Yeah.
But that was the...
Did you not see somebody just died right there, killed, murdered by the police? I thought this even with the George Floyd riots. I hate calling them that, even though there was property destruction, but it's just so interesting that people care so much more about property than a human life.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, and they're like, unnecessary violence against the police. And it's like, you missed the entire point of the whole
Exactly.
film.
The thing that struck me when the movie came out was there was a lot of complaints that, oh, Black people are going to watch this movie and go and destroy pizza parlors.
Good.
Right? And what actually happens like a month or so after the movie comes out is another Black teen killed in a white neighborhood for no reason at all.
Exactly.
Making Spike's point again.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
New season, new chaos in college football.
Let's go! Big stage, big opportunity.
This Labor Day weekend, the wildness lives on ABC, ESPN, and the all-new ESPN app.
What a way to start!
Featuring top 10 teams like Clemson, Notre Dame, Alabama, and LSU, and Bill Belichick's debut at North Carolina.
It's so special when these teams collide.
Don't miss a lineup filled with electric matchups.
Welcome back to college football.
Kickoff week presented by Modelo. Labor Day weekend on ESPN and ABC. Also available to stream on the all-new ESPN app.
Interestingly, though, the two cops are two of the only white characters. There are a few others, but two of the only white characters in the film that speak.
It was Hispanic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Miguel Sandoval was a really great actor.
So you see the police earlier.
Yeah, they have that stare down.
Tell me if you got the same feeling. I mean, my feeling was they were pretty tolerant and they were pretty patient and they weren't showing disrespect to anybody in the neighborhood or characterizing the neighborhood. They were just out there kind of doing their jobs. They didn't seem like, well, tell me if you feel differently.
Well, that
I
one
didn't
scene
feel
when
in
they
that
have
first scene that there's any sense that they're racist. And even in the final scene, they're not trained properly. They kill Radio Raheem. They're trying to subdue him, and they do this cartoid chokehold, which is no longer allowed. That's illegal now. But at the time, that was police procedure. If somebody couldn't be subdued, and Raheem was a big dude. So do you think that they kill him out of racism, or do you think they kill him just because things get out of control?
I can see where the complexity comes from, because I think the first time they're introduced, they're turning off the fire hydrant and they don't care about the guy with his vintage car that everybody sprayed with the fire hydrant. They're just like, whatever, let's get back to normal. They don't want to charge anybody. They don't want to go look for the kids that did it. So it's like, okay, they're letting him slide. But there's also that one scene where they drive by the older Black dudes, like shooting the shit, Sweet Dick Willie and all them. And they just drive by and they're giving them like the worst look, like they want them to fucking die.
And what does he say? What a waste.
Yeah, well, they both say that. They're both looking at each other. And I think that's what makes this movie so amazing, is the complexity of all the characters, you know. But I definitely think it was racism that killed him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder if it feels more like systematic racism. You know, that's what Spike's trying to get at, as opposed to like hate
individual. Yeah,
man.
exactly. It's systemic. Yes.
This white guy drives by in his beautiful convertible. They've opened the fire hydrant. He doesn't want his leather upholstery to get all ruined by this, right? And he complains to the police. And you're not allowed to open a fire hydrant, so he's got kind of a complaint. But the police say, "Look, just buzz off,
forget about it."
So forget about it.
By the way, the guy in the car, the late great Frank Vincent, who's in a bunch of Scorsese movies, is very big towards the end of The Sopranos.
Yep.
I feel like the film pointed much more at institutionalized racism and what's wrong with the system in general than it was about somebody being a racist and therefore causing havoc. Because everybody in the film kind of voices
Exactly.
certain racist attitudes.
Totally, yes.
And it's not seen in this film, at least, as a big sin to talk that way. Obviously, killing somebody is a terrible sin. And he does not go into how the cop feels about it. It sort of seems like the cop either did it by accident or got carried away, but you don't know. And you never get to see his reactions. So that's all dropped.
I think what he's saying about police procedure is they only react on a small snippet of information.
Exactly.
Right? So
yeah,
just like when the guy gets sprayed, they get there and they see that the fire hydrant is opened. And so they do their job. They turn the fire hydrant off and say, "You darn kids, don't you open this fire hydrant again." But then when the guy comes up with a complaint that he was wrong, they're like, "Yeah, we're not here for that. That's not what we're seeing. You know, do you have anything to go on?" And they just only react to a snippet. So when they show up, they don't know any information about Sal threatening Radio Raheem and bugging out with a bat. Bugging out was in the pizzeria after he was banned, you know, which kind of brings you back to the Martin Luther King thing where he's doing his own little sit-in a little bit. All the cops see is a humongously strong Black man choking
a white man.
Someone. Well, yeah, he was white, but just as it is, he's a big, scary dude being violent.
Yeah.
And so that's what they reacted to, and that's how they reacted to it. And so Radio Raheem, he's all upset and enraged, and so he is resisting, which is kind of like a natural thing that people do. When they get angry, they kind of tend to keep going. So he probably didn't even realize it was the cops until, you know, he was losing breath and then dying. And so
also he's fighting with Sal, and the cops don't try to arrest Sal. And you can imagine if Radio Raheem was a white guy in a business suit, it might have come out differently. So absolutely. One of the most vivid scenes in the movie is so the pizzeria gets lit on fire and the police come, and there's a chance there's going to be a riot with the Korean store now. Firemen show up. They're trying to put out the fire, but the pizzeria is all burnt down. It's hopeless. So then they turn their fire hoses on the crowd.
Wow. Yeah.
On the mob, right? Which is, you know, right out of all those pictures we saw, the civil rights marches in the South, where fire hoses were turned on the marchers, white or black, but mainly black. That's a strong image that he used.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was obviously intentional.
So, right. Yeah. So to me, it's just showing that there's a system at work. And you don't think of the firemen necessarily as being bad guys. They only show up to put out the fire, but they're a part of some kind of eternal problem that just never gets worked out. And it just keeps continuing. And here we are in 2022. And some things have changed, but not enough has changed.
This brings up something, David, that I mentioned when we talked about Midnight Cowboy, the idea of a small movie that actually feels big. And we talked about how Midnight Cowboy felt bigger because it covers a lot of America, even though most of it's in New York. There's some Texas, there's some Florida, and you really get a little sense of America at the time. And what makes this movie seem bigger are things like the use of the fire hose images, like the Martin and Malcolm image, the Jackie Robinson shirt. There's details in the production design, the costume, the props, in the music, all of these different little details that are speaking to a bigger world and bringing in a lot of culture. Sometimes with young filmmakers, what makes them so exciting is they get their chance to say something and they say everything. And sometimes it's a mess. And sometimes it's so good because you get a lot to chew on, right? Stop me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's part of what makes this movie so great is by keeping it contained to one day, one block, one set of characters, he's able to lace in all this stuff about culture and history leading up to this moment that makes it feel resonant in bigger ways.
Yep. I agree. Yeah.
Also, the difficulty level to make it look like one day.
Yeah.
And it was an 8-week shooting schedule. So in 8 weeks, they had to make it all match. And it was like during the rainy season in New York. So in some of the scenes, you can see rain if you got to look really, really hard. But you'll see rain fall. The ensemble of brains coming together and the choices that they made as a group were all just firing on all cylinders. It was really well done. But is this Spike Lee's masterpiece?
Oh, great question.
He's made a lot of good films, but this is his breakout film, I'd say. Before this, the only School Days didn't do very well. I think it was maybe aimed at a more specific audience.
Yeah.
So the film that he was known for before this was She's Gotta Have It. And that was a much lighter film. It was kind of a comedy. I remember that even the trailer for the film is him out in 6th Avenue saying, tube sock, $6 for $1, $6 for $1. He almost came off as a Woody Allen character. I mean, that's
please, baby,
when I
baby,
first saw
please,
him,
baby, baby, please.
1987. I mean, Woody Allen's image has changed so much. So you really now have to go back to 1987 to even get why I would make that comparison, because now it probably doesn't make sense. But honestly, at the time, I think a lot of people compared him to Woody Allen. Woody Allen was making kind of serio-comic films about his ethnic culture.
Well, they're about relationships.
He was writing, directing, and starring in them.
Yeah.
And weren't most of them based in New York?
They're about New York. And Woody Allen's a little guy, and Spike Lee's a little guy. And I mean, people do that comparison.
Writer, director, actors, unlike
right.
Scorsese, who just has bit parts or cameos in his movies.
Right. They both went on to make more serious films, but in different directions, in different ways. And they both went on, I think, to make some very good films. I couldn't say which is Spike's best film, but I think this might be his most iconic film to me, other than maybe Malcolm X.
Yeah. I think my favorite Spike Lee is a toss-up between this one, Inside Man.
Yeah, good.
And The Five Bloods.
Oh, really?
The Five Bloods, kind of like a fuck you to Clint Eastwood for not having black warriors, black soldiers in his movies. But despite that, Five Bloods was just like really phenomenal in the way that he represented black Vietnam vets.
I love those films. And I also really love Summer of Sam, which is a departure.
Summer of Sam was a departure, yeah.
Yeah, right. It's about the New York he grew up in, but it's not really about race. And so in that way, it's a departure. It's a really well-made thriller, and it really captures the period.
To me, it's between Malcolm X and Do the Right Thing. And I think Do the Right Thing is the one that really, really survives, like super huge because of the focus, and length also helps. But anyone here seen Crooklyn? The movie that's basically his autobiography of growing up and the loss of his mom, and written by his younger sister and younger brother. His sister, who
really
plays his sister in this movie, Joie Lee, who plays Jade. I think it's time to go to our scoring system and see how we feel. I'm going to start with Guy because I think you got the most cred for this particular.
Don't I always go first? I always go first out of all the kids. I got to go first.
Yeah, you always go first.
Do you not want to go first?
I'm not even allowed to have an opinion. This is a 4-star movie because I'm Black in America. And therefore, no, seriously. So the 4-star is based off of, did you think this movie was great? Did they do some new things in the movie that changed cinema? And did it change your life personally, right? That's the basis for the 4-star, right?
Yeah, did it touch you in some personal way? Yeah, 3.5-star movie is an unbelievably great movie that could be on someone's 10 best list, but for 4 stars, it has to go a little extra mile for you personally.
Right. So Spike Lee launched careers like Tarantino revives careers. There's Martin Lawrence, Robin Harris. He brought back Ozzie Davis.
Samuel Jackson.
That was the first time everybody was like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah. And so just by that, he helped change American cinema. John Turturro was working.
Not as big as he became, but yeah.
Right. Also, he started the trend of Black movies being paired with great soundtracks in the late 80s, early 90s. If you saw a great Black film, Do the Right Thing, Boys in the Hood, Juice, Love and Basketball, any of the Black classics were accompanied by a incredible soundtrack. And so I think this is one of the movies that started that.
I agree with you, Guy, but I want to point out that before this movie, there's some bad Black movies made, I would say, not very good, with incredible soundtracks, like Superfly.
Disagree that that's a bad Black movie?
Okay, that's fine, but it's not as good as this movie. I mean, Superfly. All right. We're talking about a genre movie versus a really serious movie with a lot of social commentary. But I'll take it back. It's a matter of opinion. But to me, Superfly is a low-budget genre movie, and it's a lot of fun. I like it. So I've watched the movie like twice, and both times said, yeah, okay. But I've listened to the record 100 times, and I can't get enough.
Curtis
It's one of the best records ever.
That's
Curtis Mayfield,
right?
yeah.
Curtis Mayfield. It's
And by the way,
unbelievable.
can we a shout out to Isaac Hayes for theme from Shaft, which is like
That's what I was saying.
one of the
Shaft,
greatest
yeah.
movie songs of all time.
Right. But actually,
Yeah,
to me, Little
yeah.
Child Running Wild is even a better song. That song contains all the issues we've talked about today in one song.
But me personally, it got me into touch. Like after I watched Do the Right Thing, I read Malcolm X autobiography.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
I want to read that.
That's
Yeah,
great.
it's good.
Oh, it's a great book. I read it when I was 12.
Right on.
For me,
Cool.
I was 18 when I read it.
Cool.
I went to progressive school.
I
so I read it when I was 12.
I was junior high, and maybe freshman high school, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I can't remember. I don't know how old it was. I don't want to do math. But it made me believe that Black people can direct films.
Mm.
It's one of the movies that sparked me and this journey of love with movies. So yeah, 4 stars.
Well, I think one of the best things that a movie can do is inspire younger people. And when a filmmaker can do that, it's really special. And also, I don't think any of us are arguing that this movie is not relevant today.
No, not at all.
It's just crazy. I mean, I honestly think it just gets better year after year. It feels more and more relevant.
Every time I see it, I like it better.
Well, if you feel that way, Grace, how many stars are you willing to give Spike?
I agree with Guy. I give it 4 stars. The first time I saw it, I sobbed my eyes out. And it just really touched me. And it's a topic that I've always been super passionate about. My brother, technically my half brother, but we've been siblings like really close my whole life. My mom raised us. We have different dads, and his dad is Black, so my brother's half Black. It's something that's always been really close to me because half my family is Black. So
You've probably seen some of the things they've had to deal with occasionally.
exactly, yeah, awful stories.
My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Jake, your turn.
I'm going to give it a 3. I think it's a classic film. But for me, it was like a little bit hectic. Like the choppiness and the constant high energy was a lot for me. I loved it. I would watch it again and I would recommend it. But I think there was something a little bit like DIY about it that I didn't connect with. And the shakiness of the camera. And I think that was intended, but I just didn't really appreciate that aspect of it. And also there was like a playful, happy energy about it that I didn't like. And I felt like had this movie had this bright, hot coloring and a very serious undertone throughout, I would have connected more with it, at least visually. But obviously it's a great movie and he's an amazing director. So I would recommend, but there were just these little micro things that I was like, you know?
Now, you've only seen the movie once, is that correct?
Right. Yeah. So I got to see it again.
I'll be really interested to see if your opinion changes because there is something called the shock of the new. And when you see something that is somewhat revolutionary, like 2001 when it came out for some people, especially older people, it takes a while to adjust. You may not get it the first time.
Totally.
And I think it's fair to say that this movie was the shock of the new when it came out. And some of that stuff that you feel, I think I felt a little bit early on, but I think I've seen it like 5 times now. It's such a classic and it feels like everything is kind of where it should be, but sometimes that comes from repeated viewings.
Oh yeah, I definitely need to give it another shot.
And I feel like that lightheartedness you were talking about, it's kind of to drive the point home that it's just another regular day and these people weren't expecting this awful shit to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right.
All right. And by the way, 3 stars, no shame in a 3-star movie. That's an A-. We get to the 2.5s and the 2s and we're in the B zone. It's a little shame.
Yeah, it's still definitely a quality movie.
David, your turn.
I saw when it came out in a theater. And it not only matters that you see it in the theater, but it's like who with and what theater and all that. So I saw it in a theater in the west side of LA, a very white neighborhood with a very white audience. And my feeling about it was a 3. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was pretty funny. I just really liked it, like the independent rawness of it, because I think if you can make a great independent film, that's a bigger achievement than making a great Hollywood film, because you have fewer resources to work with.
Well, this was financed by a studio, though. I mean, it was a low budget for a studio film, and it was made with Spike's production company. So he had independent control within the studio system, kind of the way Scorsese does, that very few filmmakers have.
So I'll give you that even if it was a studio film, and I guess it was, they built and burned down this whole pizzeria. It was an expensive scene. But nonetheless, he was introducing all these actors I hadn't seen before and a really quality cast. So I was impressed by the movie. But anyway, at that time, I just thought 3 stars. So seeing it again, all these years later, 33 years later, my opinion has risen. And the reason my opinion has risen is that, first of all, I'm amazed that it's still just as interesting and relevant as it was way back then.
Sad.
That's hard to do. I didn't know who Martin Lawrence was. I didn't know who Samuel L. Jackson was. I didn't know who Rosie Perez was. And so I'm impressed that he discovered all these people. And, and then their performances meant more to me now because I know more about them now. So it affected me more. So I'm definitely above 3 stars. The question is whether I'm at 3.5 or 4. And that's just so tough for me. So as everyone who knows me knows, I'm a hair splitter. And I'm just going to break the rules and say 3 3/4.
Oh, what?
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Like
it's
they say in the
right.
movie. I was born in Brooklyn. Right, when the white guy says I was born in Brooklyn, John Savage.
And everyone's like, oh my God.
All right, I don't quite buy that. I think you're a 3.5, and I think that you should really stick to your guns on this.
I'm happy with 3.5. It's not on my top 50 films of all time, but it's close. And in some respects, it's in my top 50. It's in my top 50, maybe most important films that I've seen in my lifetime. So 3.5, I'll give you that. I mean, if 4 is like perfect, then 3.5.
Well, 3.5 could be perfect, but it didn't necessarily touch you in quite that personal way like it touched Guy, for example.
Maybe not, but I was touched. I was touched.
Right. I mean, a 3.5 star movie, you probably have to be touched, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jake is now touching Grace.
I was going to say, are we still doing phrasing? But you guys probably don't watch Archer.
Not enough. Not enough. Okay, guys, so I'm going to give you my opinion. And my opinion is definitely my appreciation of the film has grown over the years. And I am going to give it 4 stars because it touched me personally in several ways. The movie came out in 1989, and I was invited to the world premiere at the Ziegfeld Theater, the hugest theater in Manhattan, doesn't exist anymore, in the middle of Midtown, with Ossie Davis introducing Spike at the beginning. And I don't know how you guys felt when you watched the beginning of the movie, but that opening sequence where Fight the Power starts playing and Rosie Perez is dancing for like 4 minutes straight. I don't think any of us had ever seen anything like that before. It was better than a music video. It was almost like an old-fashioned movie musical, but shot through with modern adrenaline and excitement. But it's really like had that feeling like we're in for something. And the movie just didn't disappoint. It felt historical at the time. Ossie Davis at the beginning, when he introduced Spike, he almost was like a preacher. He was like, and this young man is bringing opportunity that never has existed before. And, being part of the city, it felt like our movie and like our time. And I think that the fact that I could feel that way, even though I'm not African-American, I think says something about the movie and the strength of what he put together.
I think it can impact us as white folks so much because it's about fighting the power, which isn't just white people, but the powers that be want us all fighting over this silly stuff when we're all just humans.
We need to get along.
This got nominated for Best Original Screenplay. And did it get what's the other one?
Did it get a Best Supporting Actor for Spike, maybe? No, I can't remember.
Oh, no, Danny Aiello got one for Supporting Actor.
Danny Aiello, the white guy. The one nomination for acting was for essentially the white lead of the movie.
Okay, so we all know the history of the Oscars and their history with awarding people of color. But the cool thing that I dug out was that Kim Basinger, in her speech, she's like, all these movies are great movies because they tell the truth. But there's one movie that was missing from this list because, ironically, it may have told the biggest truth. And she said that was Do the Right Thing during the Oscars as she was giving away the Oscar for Best Picture. And I thought that was
badass.
Pretty cool.
I believe the winner that year was Driving Miss Daisy.
It was Driving Miss Daisy.
No,
yes.
no.
Yeah.
Which is essentially a very
Wow.
old-fashioned story about race with a genteel black driver and an old, slightly racist woman who becomes less racist, I guess, or something. I've never seen the movie.
I've never seen Driving Miss Daisy either. And I love Morgan Freeman. I love Morgan Freeman. He's
We all love Morgan Freeman.
one of the coolest.
Jessica Tandy won Best Actress for it and probably deserved it.
Maybe, probably deserved it.
But the film didn't deserve Best Film.
No, like he was going up against some big dogs like Dead Poets Society, but it happened again to him too, right? So Black Klansman was up for Oscar nomination and lost to Green Book.
Right. Kind of another,
Kind of like a
soft racism versus hard racism.
Yeah, it's like
but he did win the screenplay award for Black Klansman for Best Adapted Screenplay.
and he also got a BAFTA, which I don't know if that counts in America. Do we care about
It's
BAFTAs?
British, right?
Yeah.
It's an award. I mean, can we all agree that award ceremonies are kind of bull? I mean, just look at the Grammys, right? In the 60s, while the Beatles and the Rolling Stones were making all this new music, Pat Boone is winning Grammys. So
I'm an aspiring filmmaker, so don't dash my
yeah, I had dreams of winning an Oscar one day too, and I'm 63. Probably not going to happen for me at this point, but
don't give up.
I can just tell you that. I mean, in 1968, when they made 2001: A Space Odyssey, Oliver won Best Picture.
2001 was not nominated for Best Picture.
Wasn't even nominated. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So who's watching Driving Miss Daisy now? I'm sure some people. Who's watching Do the Right Thing? Everybody.
I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Did anyone have anything else from their research that they wanted to get into the show before?
Yeah, I had a fun little factoid, not fun, but interesting, just how history repeats itself. The first Black mayor of New York City was elected in 1989, right after a bunch of like horrible police killings of Black kids, pretty much. And then they didn't have their second Black mayor until 2021, which I thought was interesting, right after George Floyd.
Oh, interesting. It was originally David Dinkins and now Eric Adams.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Eric Adams, who was at one point
ironic.
police commissioner, right? Wasn't he the chief?
Yes, he was police commissioner. Eric Adams, very different than David Dinkins, ran on a law and order campaign because people have become concerned about crime in New York City.
Interesting.
All right. Anyone else got any other points they want to bring up on this one? No? All right, guys. This has been a really fun one to do, and I love that it resonated so well. Guy, I don't know if you've done the average yet.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
We're at 3 3/4 stars because weird star.
But that's about the best we've had, right?
Has
I think
anything
had
Midnight
more
Cowboy
than
was
that?
3.5, and I think we were at 3 for Charlie.
Okay, so this is the highest average so far.
We have 3 other movies that we can compare it to. I think it's not bad.
Are we going to show a bad one?
No bad movies.
Sorry.
No bad movies.
Well,
Controversial, but not necessarily.
I could watch Attack of the Killer Tomatoes again, just to throw that out.
You would be alone at David's watching that.
Even I wouldn't be there. You'd
I
just
will not be
there
in the Barca Lounge.
in my media room. You can watch it by yourself.
If you listeners want to stream Do the Right Thing for yourself, it's currently available if you have a subscription to Showtime, and you can rent it elsewhere. If you like our show, please tell your friends. Please rate and review the show so others can find us as well. Generation Film is an Electrocast production. Our producers are David Tausik and Guy Lewis. Our executive producers are Mark Netter and Peter Rafelson. Please join us on our next episode when we will see how another classic film plays out for a whole new generation of movie lovers.
Electrocast.
Ever thought about starting your own podcast?
Do you have a business or a message you want to share with the world?
Well, now it's easier than ever with Electricast. Hi, I'm Mark Netter.
And I'm Peter Rafelson. We're the founders of Electricast Media.
Whether you want to start a new podcast or already have one, join Electricast to grow your audience, monetize your content, and build your community.
With our simple sign-up, you get free promotion, world-class analytics, premium ads, and personal support.
Go to electricast.com and join our community today.
Electricast. Transform your influence.
Electricast.
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Peter.
We're the founders of Electricast Media, bringing you great podcasts like Nightmare Road Stories, Tech Talk Revolution, and Bodacious Minds.
Electricast networks include Ruby for female empowerment, the Best Business Network, and GPN for geopolitics. We built this company to create community and amplify diverse voices, and we really appreciate your support.
So, keep listening to Electricast podcasts and hear the culture.
Electricast.